Merciful human, spare me. I'll serve you, pleaded the fallen Aelari captain. The control deck of the Aelari cruiser Valiant was a storm of panic. Warning lights flashed, consoles spat sparks, and the vessel trembled under the relentless assault of an unseen enemy. Captain Syrah, blue-skinned and poised, sat upright in her command seat, a cascade of purple hair framing her angular, determined features. Her pointed ears twitched at every report. Deflector fields at 2%, engines crippled, weapons failing. The bridge crew scrambled, voices overlapping. Deflector fields down to 2%, the tactical officer shouted, fingers racing across a smeared hollow panel. Main power cycling, engines unresponsive. Another cried out, her face drawn tight with terror. On the main screen, the Dauntless loomed, a human warship, smaller than the Valiant but battle-hardened, hull-blackened and scarred but still exuding power. The squadron Syrah had commanded minutes before was now little more than drifting wreckage. The humans had routed them, and as the Valiant shook under another silent barrage, pride stung sharper than any wound. Syrah's hands clenched the arms of her seat. The Dominion, rulers of a dozen worlds, had never tasted such defeat. Not at the hands of the upstart humans, never. The comms officer's trembling voice cut through the chaos. Captain, incoming hail, it's the Dauntless. Their commander wishes to speak. Syrah drew a breath, forced the tremor from her spine, and nodded. Put it through. The screen flickered, static dancing before revealing the human commander. Jason Cole, tall and broad-shouldered, wore his uniform like a second skin. His eyes, a piercing gray, were calm, almost unreadable. Captain Syrah, he said, voice steady as iron, your forces have been defeated. Power down your ship and prepare for boarding. The words fell heavy, but Syrah straightened, her voice cold and dignified. If you seek surrender, you will receive it only through proper form. I invoke the right of peace. By ancient Aelari law, I offer myself as envoy. I will serve and study your people as long as honor demands. Behind her, Lieutenant Vex's pale fingers gripped the rail. Captain, you cannot. I can, Syrah snapped, cutting off dissent. Our honor is not a matter for debate. The right binds me. Jason's brow furrowed with surprise, but after a moment's consideration, he nodded. We accept your tradition. You have my word. You will not be harmed. Vex's jaw worked, his anger barely masked. Syrah ignored him, already composing herself for the trial ahead. With a final glance at her shattered command, she pressed a slender hand to the ceremonial pendant at her throat, the cool metal steadying her. She swore to herself she would learn from these humans, and one day restore the honor of her people. The transporter room aboard the Dauntless was a stark contrast to the chaos she had left behind, clean, orderly, and humming with unfamiliar technology. Syrah materialized alone, her purple hair tumbling over her shoulders, ceremonial garb a striking contrast to the humans' practical uniforms. A security team awaited her, plasma rifles at rest but ready. Commander Jason Cole stood at their head, arms folded. Syrah dropped to one knee, tail curling behind her in ritual submission, gaze fixed on the deck. Jason's voice was immediate, gentle, but insistent. We don't kneel here. You're a guest, not a captive. Syrah hesitated, uncertain, but Jason stepped forward and offered her his hand. She accepted, rising awkwardly to her feet. The humans watched her with curiosity, not contempt. Jason gestured to a waiting officer. Lieutenant Tan will show you to your quarters. If you need anything, ask. Syrah's voice was barely above a whisper. Why? Show such mercy to a defeated foe? Jason's expression softened. We seek understanding, not subjugation. You're here to help us bridge the divide, that is all. The journey through the Dauntless was strange, almost jarring. The corridors were brighter than the shadowed halls of the Valiant, the air tinged with the scent of machine oil and ozone. Lieutenant Miraton walked beside her, eyes sharp and movements brisk. Syrah's quarters were small but comfortable. Plain walls, a soft bed, a hollow terminal. She ran her hand over the smooth surface of the desk, listening to the quiet hum of the engines. Everything was so alien, yet not unfriendly. That night, sleep eluded her. She had expected scorn, interrogation, perhaps even cruelty. Instead, she had found courtesy and respect, and it unsettled her more than any hostility could have. The next morning, Mira arrived promptly. "Commander says you're to assist with ship diagnostics." Syrah blinked, taken aback. "I am a captain, not an engineer." Mira raised an eyebrow. "If you're truly here to learn, prove it. Or was that just ceremony?" Pride warred with curiosity. Syrah straightened, dignity intact. "Very well. Show me your systems." They moved through the engineering decks, past humming grav coils and sprawling arrays of glowing data nodes. Human engineers barked orders, but Syrah noticed something else. Junior crew challenged their seniors, suggestions flying, arguments erupting and resolving within moments. "This is disorder," Syrah muttered, watching a heated debate over a power relay. Mira shook her head. "It's flexibility. Ideas matter more than rank. Gets the job done." Syrah frowned, biting back a retort. On the Valiant, questioning orders would have meant court-martial. Here, it seemed to be expected. Later, in the mess hall, Syrah sat apart, the stares of the crew prickling against her skin. Jason approached, carrying 2 mugs of something steaming. He sat beside her, offering a mug. "Try it. It's called coffee. Helps with long shifts." Syrah sipped, wincing at the bitter taste. "Your tactics in battle, they were unexpected." Jason grinned, a flash of warmth in his otherwise reserved demeanor. "Your maneuvers were flawless, Captain, but predictable. Humans, we improvise. Sometimes that's the only advantage we have." She considered this, swirling the dark liquid. "On Aelari, command is absolute. We do not question strength." "Maybe that's why you lost," Jason said, not unkindly. Before she could reply, an alarm blared through the mess hall. "Reactor emergency! All hands to stations!" Jason was up in an instant, already moving. Syrah hesitated, then followed, weaving through the rushing crew. In engineering, chaos reigned, smoke curled from a ruptured plasma conduit. Jason dove in, barking orders, grabbing a fire-suppressant hose, his uniform quickly stained. Syrah watched, stunned, as he worked side by side with his engineers, risking himself as freely as any other crew member. She moved to assist, her own expertise finding purchase. Together, they isolated the breach and stabilized the core. When the crisis finally passed, Jason turned to her, breathless, a streak of soot across his cheek. "You did good, Captain," he said, offering a crooked smile. For the first time, Syrah felt something shift inside her, a tremor of doubt, a question she could not answer. That night, Syrah lay awake, the memory of Jason's words and actions echoing in her mind. She stared at the ceiling, the soft blue glow of the cabin lights reflecting in her violet eyes. For so long, she had believed in a vision of strength without flaw. Now, in the quiet hum of the Dauntless, she wondered if the Aelari vision of strength was truly complete. Days bled into weeks aboard the Dauntless. Syrah, once the vanquished captain, now moved among the human crew as an unlikely asset. Her mornings began with the tactical team, screens flickering with simulated battles, crew members clustered around as she and Lieutenant Miraton dissected each engagement. Syrah's strategies were bold, sweeping maneuvers rooted in Aelari doctrine, decisive, uncompromising. Mira countered with caution and misdirection, adapting on the fly, her style less a hammer than a scalpel. You charge the flank, but leave your support ships exposed, Mira pointed out, a wry smile tugging her lips. Sira folded her arms, tail flicking in irritation. Victory demands sacrifice. Indecision breeds defeat. Or it saves lives, Mira shot back. We're not playing zero-sum here. Sometimes a retreat is a win. On Aelari, retreat is dishonor, Sira replied, voice cold but not unkind. And on Earth, pride gets people killed. Mira met her gaze, steel in her eyes, and for a moment, both women smiled. Adversaries, but equals. Respect was forged, not granted. Yet not all welcomed Sira's presence. Security Chief Evans watched her with thinly veiled suspicion. The man's scarred knuckles flexed whenever she entered the room, and his voice was always clipped. You think just because you're helping here, we'll forget? He muttered one evening, blocking her path in the corridor. My brother served on Alaric base, never came back. Sira's jaw tightened. I regret your loss, but I did only what duty demanded. Duty, Evans spat. That's what they all say. Jason intervened before the confrontation could spiral. That's enough, Chief. We don't judge each other by the worst of our pasts. He waited until Evans stalked off, then turned to Sira. Is vengeance all you understand, Captain? The question lingered in her mind long after he left. Sira lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, replaying Jason's words until they stung more than Evans's accusation. In the recreation lounge, Sira observed Jason among his crew. He laughed easily, his hand on a young ensign's shoulder, listening more than he spoke. The humans respected his authority, but it was a fluid thing, earned anew each day. When he noticed Sira watching, he joined her at the viewport, city lights of a distant world flickering across his face. Tell me about Aelari, he said softly. Sira traced a finger along the glass. We have twin moons. On festival nights the sky is violet, lit by fire and song. My people hold tradition above all, honor, strength, loyalty. I was raised to believe emotion clouds judgment. Jason's voice was gentle. And what about you? Do you believe it? I used to. Her words trembled with uncertainty. He nodded. Earth was divided for centuries. War, famine, prejudice. We only survived by learning unity. Painfully, imperfectly. Their hands brushed as both reached for a carafe of water. The touch sent a jolt up Sira's arm, electric and unexpected. Jason's eyes met hers, softening, and for a heartbeat, neither moved. The next day brought combat drills. In the cavernous training deck, Sira and Mira squared off, the crew gathering to watch. Sira's movements were swift, precise. She anticipated every feint, and within minutes had Mira pinned. Mira grinned, breathless. Teach me that move. Sira helped her up, masking her surprise. It is not the move, but the intention. Know your adversary. Become them. Mira's nod was solemn. You're a hell of a teacher, Sira. Before the crew could disperse, alarms shrieked through the deck. Distress call received. Civilian freighter. Heavily damaged. The comm crackled. Jason's voice rang over the ship's speakers. All available personnel, prepare for rescue operations. Captain Sira, report to the shuttle bay. She hesitated only a second before hurrying after him. In the bay, Jason handed her a breath mask. I need your skills on this. Trust you can handle it? Their eyes met. I will not fail you, Sira promised. The rescue shuttle rattled as it docked with the crippled freighter. Smoke choked the narrow corridors, the air thick with fear and the scent of burning metal. Sira led the way, weaving past debris, her agility outstripping even the trained Marines. She found a collapsed bulkhead pinning a terrified mother and child. With a wordless grunt, she braced herself, muscles straining, and heaved the steel aside. The survivors stumbled to safety, and Syrah's pulse hammered with something unfamiliar. Pride, not in victory, but in mercy. Jason found her as the last group was evacuated. "You saved them," he said, voice low. Syrah met his gaze, expecting the usual formality. Instead, he simply said, "Thank you." The words settled deep, more meaningful than any medal. That night, as Syrah returned to her quarters, she realized her priorities had shifted. Once, she craved only triumph. Now, saving lives, human lives, meant something she could not ignore. A week later, the Dauntless approached the ruins of a frontier outpost. The hulls of shattered defense drones floated in the black, scorched and twisted. The away team, Syrah among them, moved cautiously through the devastated station. Scanners pinged with strange readings, and Syrah's skin prickled with unease. Mira's voice was tight. "What could do this?" Jason knelt beside a melted bulkhead. "Not a weapon. Something else. Something that eats matter itself." A wall panel flickered, and Syrah's translator stuttered as alien glyphs scrolled across the screen. "The rift," she whispered. "It's a legend among my people. We thought it myth." Jason's face was grim. "It's real. That's why we entered your territory. Diplomacy failed. Force got your attention." Syrah's chest tightened. The Dominion was in danger, and she had ignored the warnings as bluster. In a shattered vault, the team discovered a crystalline shard pulsing with volatile energy, the only clue to the rift's nature. As they prepared to leave, a tremor shook the ground. The roof cracked, debris rained down. Syrah lunged, pushing Jason aside as a boulder crashed where he'd knelt. For a breathless moment, their bodies pressed close, dust and adrenaline mingling. Jason's hand braced on her hip. Their eyes locked, silence stretching. 1,000 things unsaid. Syrah's heart pounded. But then Mira called, and they sprang apart, duty reclaiming them. Back aboard the Dauntless, Jason gathered his officers: Mira, Evans, Syrah. The crystal lay on the table, swirling with inner fire. "The rift is moving. If we don't warn both sides, it'll consume everything between our worlds." Mira's fingers drummed on the console. "The Aelari won't listen to us." Syrah's voice was quiet. "They will not heed me either. I am a traitor in their eyes." Jason turned to her, earnest. "Help me understand Aelari pride. How do we break through?" Syrah hesitated, her words slow and deliberate. "Pride is our foundation, built on history, suffering, sacrifice. To admit fear is weakness. To ask for help is shame." Jason stepped closer. "But you aren't weak. You chose to help us, to save lives. That matters. Let them see who you are now." She held his gaze, feeling the charge in the air. "If I fail, we do it together," he said, voice soft. "You're not alone." Before she could reply, the bridge shuddered. "Contact! 3 Aelari warships inbound." Mira's shout was urgent. "They're demanding we stand down and return Captain Syrah." Syrah's blood ran cold as Admiral Kareth's image filled the main screen, regal and severe, his gaze icy. "Syrah, you will return at once to face Dominion judgment." Jason looked to her. "We can fight, or you can go as envoy." Syrah considered, then spoke with calm resolve. "Let me deliver the rift sample and our intelligence. My life for the chance to save both our peoples." Jason's jaw tightened, but he nodded. In the shuttle bay, he pressed the crystal into her palm, their hands lingering, warmth radiating between them. "Come back," Jason said, voice rough with emotion. Syrah's breath caught. "I promise." He kissed her then, urgent and sincere, hands cradling her face, her own trembling on his chest. The world narrowed to the space between them, a moment that burned brighter than any star. The comm crackled, summoning her to the shuttle. Sierra stepped back, gaze locked on Jason, heart racing as she turned toward the unknown, the crystal secure in her grasp and his kiss lingering on her lips. Aboard the Aelari flagship, the air was colder, the light harsher, and every step Sierra took was watched by stone-faced guards in crimson armor. She stood before Admiral Kareth, whose silvered hair and regal bearing radiated the Dominion's iron will. His gaze cut through her, not with anger, but with a deeper, heavier disappointment. Sierra held her chin high as she presented the rift sample, its crystalline facets pulsing with ominous light. "This is the danger I warned of," she said, voice steady despite the tremor beneath. "The rift devours all. We must unite with the humans or perish." Kareth leaned forward, lips curling. "You bring me a human trick. Data to frighten us into bowing to our enemies." Sierra's tail flicked with frustration. "Admiral, the Dauntless only fights because you would not listen. This is not about pride, it is about survival." Kareth's fist slammed onto the console. "Your time among the humans has infected you. I will not cower before upstarts. Give me the sample. With it, we will crush the Dauntless and show them the price of trespass." Sierra's voice broke through his bluster, sharp and pleading. "You do not see. If the rift comes, none of this will matter. Not the Dominion, not Earth, nothing." But Kareth waved a hand, and the guards seized her arms. "Place her under watch. When the Dauntless is destroyed, she will answer for her betrayal." Sierra's heart pounded as she was marched through gleaming corridors, the hum of the engines vibrating in her bones. Alone in a holding chamber, she paced, mind racing, calculating the angles of every bulkhead and door. Through a narrow viewport, she watched as the flagship and its escorts moved into attack formation. On the Dauntless, Jason paced his own bridge, tension lining his face. "All hands to battle stations. They're closing in," he ordered, voice firm but edged with worry. Lieutenant Miratan's eyes darted over tactical readouts. "They're powering main batteries, shields holding at maximum." Jason nodded, recalling every detail Sierra had shared, every pattern, every weakness. "We'll follow her plan. Remember, we disable, not destroy. We're here to send a message, not start a war." The Aelari ships advanced, weapons spitting violet fire across the void. The Dauntless danced between the blasts, engines howling, launching countermeasures and well-placed pulses that cut through shield nodes and targeting arrays, precision attacks, enough to cripple, but not kill. "Direct hit on their propulsion grid," Mira called out, secondary batteries disabled. Jason's jaw tightened. "Hold fire, no casualties." Back on the flagship, the chaos gave Sierra her chance. The guards rushed to their posts, and Sierra feigned collapse, drawing one close. In a blur, she twisted his arm, slamming him into the wall. The other charged. She ducked, sweeping his legs and cracking him with the heel of her boot. She snatched the access card from his belt, her breaths coming quick and ragged. She sprinted through the corridors, alarms blaring. Security doors slammed shut behind her, but Sierra moved like a shadow, memory guiding her through forgotten maintenance shafts. She reached the science lab, where the rift sample was stored under guard. 2 scientists leapt to defend it, but Sierra's training was flawless. She dodged a stun blast, disarmed the first with a fluid motion, and pressed him against the console. "I do not wish to harm you," she whispered, "but I will not let you doom us all." She snatched the crystal, tucking it beneath her jacket, and dashed for the hangar, alarms wailing louder. Security teams converged, their plasma rifles raised. As she skidded into the hangar, a shimmer of light signaled the arrival of Jason and a small strike team, Mira and Evans at his side, weapons ready. "Sierra," Jason called, relief and urgency blending in his voice. She tossed him the crystal. "We must go. Now." A squad of Aelari Marines blocked the shuttle, forming a wall of armor and fire. Jason covered Syrah, exchanging shots, while Mira hacked the hangar controls, triggering a cascade of smoke and flickering lights. Syrah moved with lethal grace, disarming her own people with regret twisting in her chest. One young guard, barely more than a cadet, stood in her path. "Captain Syrah, you can't—" She pressed a hand to his shoulder, voice fierce but kind. "I fight for all of us now. Remember that." They fought their way to the shuttle, sealing the hatch as plasma bolts scorched the hull. Mira slammed the launch controls and the craft shot into the void, alarms howling behind them. No sooner had they cleared the hangar than Aelari fighters streaked after them, weapons blazing. Syrah slid into the gunner's seat, fingers trembling. The targeting reticle hovered over the pursuing ships, her own fleet, her own kin. Jason's voice cut through her doubt. "You're not betraying them. You're saving them. Trust yourself." Syrah squeezed the trigger. The shuttle's cannons pulsed, scoring hits that forced the fighters to veer away, disabling engines but leaving cockpits intact. Her aim was precise, her will steeled by Jason's faith. The Dauntless loomed ahead, shields opening just long enough for the shuttle to dive into the hangar. The team spilled out, breathless and battered, as the bay doors sealed behind them. Syrah's legs almost gave way. Mira caught her elbow, offering a rare smile. "You made the right choice." Evans nodded gruffly. "For what it's worth, you fought like one of us." Before Syrah could respond, Jason took her arm, guiding her to the comms suite. "It's time." Syrah's hands shook as she keyed the broadcast, her voice echoing through the Dauntless and out to every Aelari ship in range. "This is Captain Syrah of the Dominion. I do not betray, but protect. The rift will destroy us unless we unite. I beg you, see the truth, not the enemy." The transmission ended. For a moment, silence. Syrah slumped into the chair, uncertainty crashing over her. Later, in Jason's quarters, the soft hum of the ship and the quiet glow of the cityscape outside replaced alarms and shouts. Syrah stood by the viewport, arms folded, staring at the stars that had once been her only home. Jason entered quietly, eyes searching hers. "You did everything you could." She shook her head. "My career is over. I will be branded a traitor, no matter what happens." He stepped closer, voice gentle. "Do you regret it?" Syrah turned, searching his face. "Not as much as I thought I would." He reached for her hand. She let him take it, his warmth grounding her. Syrah drew him close and their lips met, a tender brush, then deeper. Urgent, the weight of fear and longing dissolving between them. Her hand slipped over his shoulders, his arms circling her waist, and uniforms fell away. Blue skin and human warmth entwined in a night where vulnerability was not weakness, but sanctuary. In the early hours, Syrah traced Jason's jaw, heart steady for the first time in weeks. "Whatever comes, I face it with you," she whispered. Their peace shattered as the comm panel chimed, Mira's voice urgent. "Bridge to Cole and Syrah, the rift. It's moving. It threatens the colony at Aelari." Jason was already up, pulling on his shirt, voice steady. "We're on our way." Syrah dressed quickly, resolve burning in her eyes. Side by side they hurried through the corridors, the fate of both their peoples hanging in the balance as the Dauntless turned toward the heart of the storm. The rift loomed over the planet Lysara, a vital Aelari world. From the Dauntless's bridge, the anomaly appeared as a swirling wound in space, gnawing at the atmosphere with tendrils of black and violet energy. The planet's twin continents, once shimmering with city lights, now flickered under the shifting shadow, panic and fear radiating from every desperate transmission. Lysara's fate, and perhaps that of both peoples, hung by a thread. Jason's voice echoed through the command center. "All stations, prepare for defensive action. Evacuate civilians if possible. Power to forward shields." Sira stood at his side, the rift crystal cradled in her palm, its surface pulsing to a rhythm none could interpret. Dr. Patel, the Dauntless's chief scientist, hovered over a nearby console, eyes darting between the data feeds streaming from the anomaly and the crystal's shifting spectrograph. "We've analyzed the sample," Patel said, voice taut with urgency. "If we can amplify its resonance, it might disrupt the rift structure, maybe even force it to collapse." Jason's gaze flicked to Sira. "Is it enough?" Sira's jaw clenched. "Not with just the Dauntless. We need more power, enough to shake the stars." Jason nodded. "The Aelari fleet? They won't trust you." "Not yet," Sira replied, her eyes sweeping across the Aelari ships forming a distant, uncertain cordon around Lysara. "But they might trust me." Jason's hand touched her shoulder, the contact brief but steadying. "Then let's give them a reason." Sira moved to the comm station, her voice strong as she broadcast to the Aelari fleet. "This is Captain Sira of the Dominion. The rift threatens us all. I have evidence, a solution that requires your help. I ask you, as one who has seen the cost of division, listen." Static. A dozen tense heartbeats passed. Then Admiral Kareth's stern visage appeared, flanked by wary officers. "You betrayed us once, Sira. Why should we believe you now?" Sira held up the crystal, data from Dr. Patel's analysis streaming on the shared display. "You have my record. My actions were not betrayal, but protection. This is the only weapon that can harm the rift. If you refuse, Lysara dies." A pause. Then a younger scientist stepped forward on the Aelari flagship screen. "Show us your method." Jason exchanged a look with Sira, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Sira nodded. "Transmit the resonance algorithm. Let them verify." Within minutes, Aelari scientists joined the Dauntless's crew on the comm grid, voices sharp with technical debate but united by purpose. Mira relayed reactor data, an Aelari engineer countered with harmonic wave models. Patel and his opposite number, a silver-eyed Aelari woman named Wren, overlaid schematics and results, their dialogue clipped but intensely focused. Evans, standing guard by the science station, watched the exchange warily. At last, he spoke, voice gruff but honest. "You risked everything, Captain. For us, that takes guts, whatever else you are." Sira met his gaze, gratitude softening her features. "Thank you, Chief." "Just don't give me reason to doubt you again," he muttered, but his tone was no longer hostile. The rift pressed closer, its energy peeling away the planet's protective fields. Jason's voice rang out. "All ships, synchronize your emitters. On my mark, fire the resonance wave." The human and Aelari vessels aligned, a shimmering grid forming above Lysara's stratosphere. The Dauntless's engines roared, power readings spiking as the rift crystal slotted into the resonance chamber. Sira's hands flew across the console, inputting the final sequence. "All ships ready," she called. "Fire," Jason commanded. A lattice of energy arced between the ships, converging on the rift. The resonance wave pulsed outward, a symphony of light and sound that shook the heavens. The rift recoiled, its surface buckling, edges fracturing with a shriek that rattled the Dauntless's hull. Patel's eyes widened. "It's working, splitting the anomaly, but not enough." The rift's wounded halves writhed, then surged forward, tendrils lashing at the combined fleet. "We need more power!" Wren shouted over the comm. Sira's mind raced. "If we link the Dauntless's systems to the flagship's core, we can amplify the field. It's risky. If either ship overloads..." Jason's face was set with resolve. "It's our only shot. Mira, patch us through. Wren, are you ready?" "Ready," came the reply. "Do it, Sira," Jason said, confidence in his voice. Sira initiated the link, her blue fingers flying over the controls. The Dauntless shuddered as the flagship's power surged through its systems. Alarms blared, lights flickered. "Resonance chamber approaching critical," Patel called. "Hold it steady," Jason urged. "Everyone, brace for feedback." Together, the ships fired again, the resonance now a blinding torrent of energy. The rift convulsed, its core unraveling. Then, with a final deafening roar, it disintegrated, torn apart from within by the very forces it had sought to consume. The bridge erupted in cheers. Mira flung her arms around Ren. Evans pounded Jason on the back. Human and Aelari crew alike clasped hands, relief and disbelief mingling in their eyes. Syrah allowed herself a trembling smile. She found Jason, who was already watching her, pride and admiration warming his gaze. The comm crackled. Governor Lyra of Lysara appeared, her violet eyes shining. "You have saved my world and all Aelari. I propose we make this alliance lasting, Aelari and human, together." Jason straightened, voice clear and steady. "On behalf of Earth and the crew of the Dauntless, we pledge to work for peace and unity." Syrah stepped forward, her tone formal but her expression open. "And I, Syrah of Aelar, will stand as envoy, between our peoples and for the future we choose together." Applause resounded through the fleet. The rift was gone, but something new had taken its place, a hope that stretched across the stars. That night, after the celebrations had faded and Lysara's skies glowed clear for the first time in weeks, Syrah wandered the Dauntless's observation deck. The stars outside seemed closer, gentler. Jason found her there, silent for a moment as he took in the sight of her against the velvet backdrop of space. He moved beside her, his presence familiar, his hand warm as it found hers. "You could return to Aelar. You'd be honored now." Syrah shook her head, a smile curving her lips. "Honor is not just duty, Jason. It's where you find meaning. This feels like home." He drew her close, their bodies pressed together, the galaxy spread before them. Limitless, promising. Syrah rested her head on his shoulder. "Wherever we go next, I go with you." They stood in quiet embrace, two souls once worlds apart, now united by courage, loss, and love, ready for whatever the universe would dare to bring. The Unity Station orbited the neutral world of Concord, its hull gleaming silver against the planet's swirling blue and gold. Built in record time by Aelari and human hands, the station stood as a promise, the first true monument to cooperation between two peoples once divided by suspicion and blood. Now its grand hall echoed with anticipation. Banners of both worlds hung from the vaulted ceiling, the emerald crescent of the Aelari Dominion, the sapphire starburst of Earth. Below, diplomats and officers mingled, Aelari in flowing silks, humans in tailored dress uniforms, the soundscape a blend of laughter, formal greetings, and the hum of translators stitching the conversation together. At the center of it all stood Syrah and Jason, hands entwined, the new uniforms tailored in both styles. His jacket bore the braided insignia of the Joint Defense Fleet, while her sash was embroidered with the old runes of Aelar. Where once there had been distrust, there was now something fierce and undeniable. Pride and the quiet certainty of belonging. Governor Lyra, resplendent in white and gold, took her place atop the dais. The hall quieted as her voice, rich, carrying, filled the space. "Today, we mark a new beginning. The formation of the Joint Defense Fleet is not merely an alliance, but a declaration that fear and pride will never again outweigh hope. We honor those who risked everything at Lysara and beyond. Let us stand together, not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals, protectors of a galaxy that needs us both." Applause rippled through the crowd, swelling as Lyra gestured for Syrah and Jason to join her. Syrah felt every eye upon her, The scrutiny of politicians, the admiration of young cadets, the silent judgment of those still not ready to forgive. Jason squeezed her hand, and she drew a breath, steadying herself. She remembered the journey in flashes, kneeling in ritual submission on the dauntless, the taste of fear and pride mingled in her mouth. Mira's barbed challenges and hard-won trust, Evans's suspicion, Kareth's cold fury. She recalled the rift at Lysara, the desperate hope as energy arced between ships, the split second when everything could have failed, and didn't. As she and Jason reached the front of the hall, Lyra produced a velvet case and opened it to reveal two medallions, the emblem of Accord, forged from both Aelari and human metals, each inscribed with a single word in both languages, unity. With this, we honor not only your courage, but your vision, Lyra said, voice resonant. You are the bridge that others will follow. She fastened one emblem to Syrah's sash, the other to Jason's chest. The hall erupted, human hands clapping, Aelari voices rising in a haunting, beautiful chant that once marked victory in war, now transformed into a hymn for peace. Old rivals and new allies approached. Mira, in the crisp uniform of a newly minted commander, grinned and embraced Syrah. Still think my tactics are too flexible? She teased. Syrah smiled, warmth and gratitude shining in her violet eyes. Perhaps there is strength in unpredictability after all. Evans, face-lined but eyes softer than Syrah remembered, extended a hand. You fought for all of us. I was wrong about you. She shook his hand firmly. You did what you believed right. That is all any of us can do. Admiral Kareth, now retired but present as a symbol of reconciliation, nodded gravely. You have brought honor to Aelari, Syrah. Not in the way I expected, but in a way we needed. Syrah bowed her head in respect. The honor is shared, Admiral. Mira and Evans stepped aside for others, including the Aelari scientist Wren and various officers from both fleets. There were no more sneers or sidelong glances, only respect. Later, the celebrations faded into softer conversations and laughter. Jason and Syrah slipped away, weaving through the winding corridors of Unity Station until they reached the observation deck. Alone at last, they stood before the panoramic window, the swirling planet and the stars beyond offering a silent backdrop. Jason broke the quiet first, voice gentle. Did you ever imagine we'd be here? That day you knelt before me, I thought you'd never look at me without anger. Syrah turned, her face open and unguarded. I did not expect to find home among your people. At first, I thought it was duty, then necessity. But now, she let the words hang, her gaze on his. Now, I think it's love. And something more. He smiled, his hand brushing a lock of purple hair from her cheek. You changed me too. I used to see the universe as lines drawn in the sand. Us versus them. Then you showed me how narrow that vision was. They stood together in the hush, memories flickering between them. Long nights planning battles and peace, hands brushing across data screens and across skin. The first tentative confessions, the charged silence after the firefight on the Aelari flagship. The night they promised not just alliance, but a future. Syrah reached up, fingers tracing the emblem of Accord on his uniform. I thought the greatest honor would be to return home victorious. Now I see, home is what you build, with courage, and with the person you choose. Jason's eyes softened. I remember our wedding. Your crystals in your hair, human symbols on my sleeve. You recited your vows in Aelari. I answered in English. I didn't understand every word, but I knew what they meant. She laughed softly. We vowed to build a bridge, even if we had to lay every stone ourselves. And we did, he said, drawing her close. Outside, Unity Station glided through the stars, but inside, hope was tangible. Sierra leaned against Jason, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "The rift still looms," she whispered. "There is still danger." Jason nodded. "But we're not alone." Resonance technology is saving colonies every week. Joint patrols, Aelari and human, have pushed the rift back farther than anyone thought possible. The struggle isn't over, but the alliance is real. She looked at him, eyes shining. "That's what matters. We keep fighting. Together." They stood, silent and content, as the lights of Concord and the endless stars reflected in the glass before them. Sierra felt the weight of her journey settle on her shoulders, not as a burden, but as a story worth telling. She belonged here, with Jason, on the edge of everything new and uncertain. Whatever darkness might come, they would face it side by side, united at last. Night fell on Unity Station. The viewports darkened as the station rotated, dimming the gleam of Concord below and painting the sleek corridors in deep blue and silver. In their quarters, Sierra lay curled against Jason, her blue skin luminous in the soft starlight spilling across their bed. The hum of distant engines, the faint echo of celebration still drifting through the station, faded until there was only the gentle rhythm of their breathing. Sierra drew lazy, intricate patterns across Jason's chest, swirls that mirrored the constellations beyond the glass. "What comes next?" she murmured, voice soft as a promise. Jason caught her hand and pressed it to his heart. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." His words were quiet but steady, a vow born not just of hope, but of hard-won certainty. She smiled, leaning into him, their foreheads touching. The room was their sanctuary, safe from the responsibilities and expectations that waited outside. For a while, neither spoke. The silence was easy, woven through with all the trust and love they had built in the space between wars and peace talks. Sierra's thoughts drifted, memories of Aelar's violet skies, the sharp taste of duty and exile, the shock of first encountering Jason's kindness. She remembered the first time she had let herself laugh among humans, and the first time she had seen him truly afraid. Not for himself, but for her. So much had changed, and yet, some things felt inevitable. They moved together, a gentle tangle of limbs, chasing comfort and affirmation, until weariness finally claimed them. As sleep crept in, Sierra felt Jason's arms encircle her, the warmth of his body grounding her in the present, even as her mind wandered through what might come next. Beyond the walls of their cabin, Unity Station never truly slept. Scientists and engineers still filled the research decks, poring over data from the latest rift incursions. Across the diplomatic concourses, late-night meetings flickered on, tense discussions over trade, security, the next steps in joint exploration. The alliance was young and fragile, built on sacrifice, understanding, and the hard labor of trust, but it endured. Sierra dreamed. She saw Aelari children and human children playing together beneath banners of blue and green. Their laughter filled corridors where, once, suspicion had reigned. She saw classrooms where both languages were taught, young minds absorbing the best of two worlds. She dreamed of starships bearing the Unity banner, launching into the unknown, crews composed of both species, arguing and laughing, solving problems side by side. In the dream, she was older, her hair streaked with silver. Jason stood beside her, his hand in hers, his eyes crinkled with the same smile he wore now. Around them, a generation raised not to fear difference but to embrace it. The rift, a distant memory, spoken of with awe and relief. Peace was never perfect, but it was real, and it was theirs. She stirred, murmuring Jason's name. Even asleep, he drew her closer, as if afraid that letting go would wake the old ghosts. He lay awake for a time, watching her, the weight of years lifting from his chest. He thought of the days before Syrah, before the Dauntless, before the war, before the moment he had chosen trust over vengeance. He remembered the first time he'd doubted himself, the guilt he'd carried, and the way she had challenged him to become something more than a soldier. He watched her sleep, her face relaxed, her breathing steady. In that quiet, hope took root again, deeper than before. For years he had fought for survival, for victory, for peace. Now, for the first time, he believed that peace might last, not just because of treaties or military strength, but because of what he and Syrah had built together. A partnership strong enough to weather any storm. He knew there would be trials ahead. The rift remained, a shadow on the edge of every star chart. Scientists hunted for a final solution, experimenting with new resonance fields, debating theories late into the night. Political tensions flared, old prejudices lurking beneath the surface, eager to exploit any misstep. Yet, as Jason listened to Syrah's gentle breathing, he found himself unafraid. He thought of the day they had married, her Aelari crystals sparkling in her hair, his human insignia stitched onto his sleeve. Their vows had not promised an easy life, only that they would meet each day as partners. They had chosen each other in the face of war. They would choose each other again, every day, as peace struggled to take root. He pressed a kiss to her temple. "Sleep, Syrah. I've got you." Outside, the stars spun silently, Unity Station gliding on its endless orbit. The galaxy was vast and wild, filled with dangers yet unknown, but Syrah and Jason rested in the eye of that storm, their love a quiet anchor amid the uncertainty. Syrah shifted, half waking. "I dreamed of our children," she whispered, voice husky with sleep. They were learning both languages. They were happy. Jason smiled, his heart full. "Then let's make it real." Hand in hand, they drifted back to sleep, holding to the belief that the future could be shaped by the choices they made now. Beyond their window, the banners of Unity Station fluttered in artificial breezes, a constant reminder that peace was not the absence of struggle, but the promise to face that struggle, together. Whatever challenges waited in the darkness, Syrah and Jason would meet them side by side. Their love, born from conflict, tempered by sacrifice, and bound by trust, had become the heart of a peace that might one day save not just two peoples, but perhaps the galaxy itself. That's the end of the story. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.